Right, in our final session before lunch, I'd like to just introduce, even though his phone may not recognise him, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who has been wowing his audiences with stories for over 25 years. He's won many national and international competitions with his stories, and today he's not only going to tell you how to find your own stories, but also how to use them to generate business. With What's Your Story? Please welcome James McGinty.
James, why did it cost £1,000 to change a fuse? It's like this, Bob. And the story goes on from there. But that is what got me interested in the power of stories. Because what had happened was I was IT manager of the UK's largest training company. But I didn't know that IT included everything that had electricity going through it. And when the electricity stopped going and 100 delegates sitting in a training centre could no longer compute, somehow it was my problem. So what did I do? I grabbed the yellow pages. Remember the yellow pages? That kind of dates me a bit. First number I saw, help, I've got 100 delegates here. I need the computers working and I need them working now. It was only when Bob told me the cost that I realised my mistake. Because 2 vanloads of electricians turned up. They could have had blue lights on their vans. They stormed into the building. Where's the fuse box? There's a fuse box? Those of you who are not psychopaths, please look away now. Because what they discovered was, in this cupboard, a little mousie had gone up the cable. And it got to the fuse, and it put one paw there, and one paw there, and there was not much mouse and no fuse left. But I learned a huge amount from that, and we'll come to that in a moment. Because going on from what Mary said there, what's your story? What I'd like you to do now is grab a piece of paper and write down your 100 best stories. What I want you to do is I want you to quickly jot down an incident similar to that. Just no attachments to it. Just an incident that's happened to you at work where you got blamed for something that wasn't your fault. Yeah. Okay. Most of you, you've managed to find something. Yeah? Most of you can think of that. And there's a story right away. You might not be able to hang a keynote speech off of that at this moment, but it's a story. And that is often the basis for one of my keynotes. I've got other stories. But I've not got enough stories. So what I want you to do now is I want you to think back over the past 24 hours and think of one thing that happened that was just a tiny bit unusual. Even if it was just stumbling and tripping on a step, or somebody dropping a bit of food. Anything that's out of the ordinary from your daily routine. Just jot that down. And 2 or 3 people reach for the pens right away. The rest are going, stop it! Every day, something that's worthy of a story happens to each and every every one of us. And you know what? If one day nothing happens to you, that's unusual enough for a story. You cannot escape stories. I've started keeping a story diary, and every day I write down something that happened. Yesterday's story was about bladder control. Because I made a plan yesterday, because I needed as much sleep as I could get, and I was working down near Oxford. And I wanted to get home as quickly as possible. So I reduced my coffee intake. I thought about what time I was drinking at, and I made sure I went to the loo at the right times, and I didn't have to stop for a pee on the journey up the road yesterday. And I got home at 9 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock. Is that interesting in some way, shape or form? You're all now firmly acquainted with my bladder. Do you know what? Every one of you, the next time you go to the loo, will be going, oh, bladder control. And that's the hook that you put into your audience. Because I have really hooked you in with the bladder control story. And there's some of you squirming really badly because you know it's true. But I do record a story every day. Some examples there. You notice some of them are just one line, some of them are a bit more. Look at that bottom one. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet, because it says think about lessons. But every story up there has got a lesson of some description. Christmas email message from a friend who runs a networking group. That's the only email he sends me every year. He runs a networking group and he sends me one email a week. Can anybody think that there might be a business lesson in that story somewhere? Of course there is. Hire car is checked and ready for you. I was doing training and this woman walked into the training room and she does these things that hook onto your rear view mirror in a hire car. She comes storming in and she says, look at that! Look at it! It says ready and checked for you. I've been staring at a low tyre pressure warning the whole way from here in sheer terror. What's that doing for their business? Yeah? Sorry, bladder control. Seam in my trousers split at work. We're not going to get too deeply into that. But I happen to have a spare pair, so I grabbed them into the loo, changed, I'm fine. But how prepared do we need to be? Because it could have been my shirt that got food on it, it could be my shoe that split, and there's a story in there about what degree of preparation businesses need to make for contingencies. Because if your turnover is £1 million a year, and you're going to spend £999,000.50 on being prepared for every eventuality, no, you're not. You need to think what's reasonable, what's not. My favourite at Christmas, on Facebook, who saw all the complaints about Amazon making late deliveries? Yeah? They're all saying, I'm desperate for this. Oh, you didn't know Christmas was coming? Because Amazon started advertising for Christmas in August. Maybe, just maybe, people could have planned ahead. One day, nothing that was story-worthy happened. And as I wrote that line, I thought, apart from, and I've put chap, but I mean kid, who blocked the door to the garage. You know when you go into a garage to pay for your fuel, and they've got a display of newspapers? What's more important, him picking his newspaper or me paying for my fuel? Don't answer that, we all know I'm more important than anybody. But there's a little story there about people not understanding what they're doing, about not understanding how other people round about feel. So, no matter what, simple little stories They're there for us every day. Don't look for context. Don't think, oh, that could fit into this, or that could fit into that. Just go, oh, that was interesting, and write it down. And I've got this on my iPad. I look at it every so often, and I pick out a story or two. What do you do with them? That's the important thing, because you can have all the stories you like, but if you're not either making money off of them, or using it to enhance a keynote, or using it as lessons in coaching sessions, using it to build training on, using it to get people to think, whatever it is you're doing, it has to fit. So pick your stories. Learn how to use a clicker. So you pick your story. You have a discussion with a group, with a client, with whoever it is. You then look what costs, what benefits can come out of this story. How is it going to help my client? How is it going to help my audience? How is it going to help me? Provide a solution. I've watched so many keynotes where people tell a brilliant story and you're sitting there going, yeah. What was your solution to that? And then you need to create a new story. You need to create a new story that overwrites the first one, that gets us where we're at. So, let's talk about me. Just in general. Let's talk about me and Bob and £1,000 to change our fuse. So, I've told you the story. I didn't know that I was in charge of the whole building, but it turned out that I was. Bob was the MD, I was the IT manager, and somehow that also made me in charge of food. Air conditioning, the water supply, the toilets, the fires. We didn't have a fire. The fire brigade made sure of that. There's another story in there. So I used this story and became facilities director. I got promoted simply because the building nearly blew up and everybody thought it was my fault except me. So that was the story. But it led to a very lengthy discussion with Bob and the other directors. The discussion was, how did I get into that job and not know what I was supposed to do? Any thoughts on what might have been missing there?
Job description.
A job description?
Communication.
Yeah. Communication.
Training.
Sorry?
Training.
Training. It was a training company. Of course we don't do training. No training company ever trains its staff. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Training. Communication. Job description. What else was missing? Was an interview. They just called me into the office and went, you're our best trainer, you've been doing a lot of the networking stuff, the IT manager's leaving in 3 weeks, do you want his job? And yeah. And that was as far as that discussion went, but we got into a really in-depth discussion about what exactly do you think my role is? Because I can tell you in a couple of words what I think it is. And we got that, and we went through this discussion. Anybody get any thoughts on what other kind of points might have come out of that discussion?
Managing teams.
Teams? Yep.
Wage increase.
A substantial wage increase, and which unfortunately made me the first candidate for redundancy when it came around. Swings and roundabouts. There was lots and lots of discussion around things I had no idea about. I discovered that I was responsible for making sure that the blinds in the building were open every morning before the delegates came in, so that we had some natural daylight into the refectory. I was responsible for making sure the chairs in the training rooms all matched. Because trainers, when they were doing prep, used to take the comfy chairs into different rooms. Stuff like that, huge discussions came out of that. But we eventually got there. Costs and benefits. Do you think the cost of the business went up? Yeah, it surely did. It went up quite a long way. Because it's been something that had been ignored. And everybody assumed that something was somebody else's issue. We also, and I'll look at that when we come to solutions in a minute, but we realised that an awful lot of the staff didn't know what their job was. They all had job titles. But I also discovered that the training manager thought I was responsible for making sure his trainers were getting trained. Because I would provide the space for them to train in, I would give them whatever room wasn't used for active training by delegates. And I was also responsible for scheduling. And because of that, he thought I was scheduling their training time. And I assumed, please correct me if I'm wrong here, that the training manager was responsible for training his trainers. Does that seem reasonable? But he didn't know that. Like, he thought his job was to shout at them when it went wrong. That's sometimes an effective strategy, don't knock it. Sometimes if you get somebody, pin them up against the wall and shout at them loud enough, you will get an improved performance for a couple of weeks. It won't last much beyond that, but you will see improvements in performance. So that's the cost. Went up. But what are the benefits? What would be the benefits of everybody in that organisation knowing what their job was?
Cohesion.
Cohesion, yeah.
Efficiencies.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Accountability. Accountability was key here because nobody had accountability. But when we come to the news story bit of this, you'll see what the feedback from that was, where we actually got to. All because of a lovely wee Karen Timorous beastie. I had to get a Burns reference in somewhere, even though I'm not a fan, that blew a fuse. So we increased our costs. But what we got was we get better trained trainers because the training manager knew what was expected. We didn't kill any delegates because I knew that I was responsible for not having legionnaires in the water system. I didn't know that before. That could have been fatal because nobody in the organisation was responsible for the water quality coming out of our taps. Because we didn't think that people would drink out of a bathroom tap. But hey ho, people drink out of bathroom taps. But people also cut their own cocaine on top of the systems. I had to make sure the tops of those systems were cleaned every day. Because if somebody sniffed something other than their cocaine off the system, that could be our problem. Because if somebody goes in and finds a germ culture, and somebody's died from that germ culture, that'd be our fault no matter what it was they were doing. Could never get rid of the razor marks. But we had a much better cohesion to the way we were working as a business. Everybody knew what their job was. Everybody knew where they were going. And can you see how basing this off of a story makes such a difference, rather than just standing up and giving a lecture about this is how you run your business better? There's got to be a hook on there. Could be mouse ball, hook. The solution, that took a bit of doing. That took a long, long time. Because we all knew what the solution was. But we asked questions like, What happens if a fuse blows and I'm on holiday? Turns out they phoned me. Despite that not being the solution we wrote down, somebody's still phoning me. What happens? I'm not sure. Yeah. What happens when a pigeon starts eating the pastries that the delegates are supposed to have for breakfast and leave pigeon footprints in the icing? Do you want to know what happens? Probably not. Another little story. I came in one morning, and we used to have about 100 delegates a day, and we only put out about 50 pastries because most didn't want them. People were always late and came in and rushed straight up to a training room, stuff like that. I came in one day, and there was loads of plates laid out. No, it was just like 4 plates heaped with pastries, job done. And they'd all been delicately cut into quarters and laid round the room. I called the chef, that looks amazing. Chef, please. That looks amazing. What made you do that? He said, there was pigeon footprints in the other bits. And threw those bits away. And I just went into my pocket and handed him 20 quid and went, go and get some more pastries. I'll get rid of these. He was Brazilian. They have different food standards on that. Why anybody would eat something that a pigeon had been on, I don't know. But that was part of the story that I've always remembered, and I can use that in any setting. But the solution was a comprehensive management plan. Stuff got written down. There were numbers to call. And it was in a book, and it was also on our intranet. People still phoned me when things went wrong. But I could just say, go onto the intranet, it will tell you who to call, because I don't know their number. I'm on a beach in Tenerife. But we got this really comprehensive plan, and everybody knew what was happening. We had everything that we could think of nailed down that wasn't going to break the business. Remember, going back to what's a reasonable level of preparedness. I could have installed a £100,000 generator in case of a power cut that would then feed the whole building. But the business couldn't sustain that, so we didn't consider it. So we got this solution of having a management plan that everybody could go to in times of crisis. But you'd be amazed how long it took us to do it, because people didn't know what their job description was. And all because we killed a mouse. But what's your news story? The news story is really important. It's got to overwrite that story. It's got to be useful for something. And our news story was that when we went pitching for new client business, we could go out and say, we have a comprehensive management plan. You're welcome to a copy of it. We've got backstops for every eventuality. So if your delegates come to us, they'll be trained, they'll be treated well, they'll be safe. And there's the evidence. And the volume of work. I used to go out and present that when we were pitching for business with the big banks, like Barclays, Deutsche Bank, people like that. We had contracts with them all, and I went out and pitched the story of how the management plan worked, how the delegates got treated, how we processed people through, how we got the joining instructions out to them, and what kind of lunch to expect. People loved that level of detail. So, find your stories. And your stories can be something that happened to your work, something that happened to you at school, something that happened to you when you were just walking down the street, and just jot them down. Don't put any context against it, but just have this list of stories, snippets, and then when you're developing a keynote, because keynotes need stories, you can say, oh, hang on a minute, I've got a story that fits just there. I've got an even better story, but this one is just for Scott. I'm ahead of time. So we've got 5 minutes for questions, and I do mean 5 minutes. Questions. Any questions?
How do you go about preparing your keynote?
How do I go about preparing my keynote? I storyboard it. So once I've got my idea for a keynote, I start to storyboard and go, what's the message I want to deliver? What's the impact on my audience going to be? Is the impact that I want and the impact that they want the same? And once I've got that, I flip into my story file and I just go through and I go, wow, that's going to fit right there. Because it depends on your audience. And I've got 2 or 3 standard off-the-cuff keynotes. But one of the things I've specialised in is doing keynotes for other people and trying to get a story out of somebody else. And I once said to a client who asked me to speak on the use of urea in the maritime industry to reduce pollution. And I went and asked him for a story, and he says, well, I went for fish and chips with their MD. Really, that's the best you can come up with. But you find a story, you fit it in, and then, unlike a lot of people, and the people wouldn't even suspect about me, I write the whole thing out longhand. Right? I write the whole thing just to get it in my head. And then I run through it a few times, I'll read it, I sometimes use my iPad as a teleprompter, but once I've got it, that gets put away. I practice probably more than anybody else. An hour's speech, 100 hours practice, easily. Easily. I do a lot of competition speaking, 7-minute speeches, 60 hours practice. I win more competitions than anybody else, so what I'm doing must be right. So, yeah, and that's how I develop the keynote, and eventually it's kind of rehearsed, kind of not rehearsed, hopefully it flows naturally, but certainly I can turn up here and deliver that keynote anytime I want after that without having to prepare it because I did so much work in the past. Anybody else?
Can you deliver speeches or keynotes on things that are not your area of expertise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and again, that's part of the skill, and that's about the storyboarding. You sit, I've been asked by several clients to give keynotes on their topic that I've got no expertise in, and I'll sit down with them, I'll tease the story out of them, I'll write it, I'll send them the script and say, is this what you want? That's it, because I have no expertise in the use of urea to reduce pollution in the maritime industry. Well, I do now, but I didn't then. Yeah, I know all sorts about it, but yes, you can, and there's a market for that. It's not a highly paid market, because people that come looking for you to deliver stuff for them are normally trying to cheap out. But yes, you can.
James, do you ever make up or elaborate?
I'm glad you used the second word. Because no, I do not make up stories. I heard a brilliant phrase. Who was here when Steve Lowell spoke to us? Yeah? Remember what Steve said? Your stories must be true, but they don't have to be accurate. And there's a fine distinction there. You can tell other people's stories as long as you say that it's somebody else's stories, but they don't have the power. Your stories with your embellishment, because sometimes 2 stories will mesh a bit. But yeah, they have to be your stories, but you can embellish them a bit. Other questions? Is that? Yeah. Yeah, no, there is. I thought you had a question.
What would be the main, for the storyboarding, before you begin that, what would be key questions, for example 3, that you could ask yourself?
I'm not sure I understood that.
You're about to do a storyboard,
Yeah.
and what's the first question you'd ask yourself?
What do I want the audience to take away? That's the first question, is what do I want the audience to take away from here? Absolutely. The second question is, can I deliver that? Because if I can't deliver that, I'm not doing that keynote. However, I'm brilliant, so the answer to that is the third question is, can I do it in the time allocated to me? Because if somebody asked me to do a session on storytelling in 5 minutes, the answer is no, I cannot do that and do it justice. And then, once that's 3 questions, but there's many more. There's what order do I want to do? How much time? How many points can I make? With each of those points, do I use a different story? Or like today, do I carry the story right the way through? But that was the first story that really got me and really made me see a change in the industry, in the company that I was working in. I've gone red over there now, so what I'd like to wrap up with after those questions and answers is, does everybody in this room think they can find one story? Yeah? Absolutely. So if that's all I've done today, is persuaded you that you've got one story, nowhere near as good as Mary's. If you've got one story that you can nail down, this has been a success.